Chapter 11.
Cold. Isn't it this morning?
Hokkaido! Dito was shivering in the underpass structure with moist morning air coming down the A trapezium openings above their heads.
I think this is the first time I have seen mud in my life. Actual dirt or whatever that stuff is.
Key stomped the ground with his feet, then looked around the grim gray place. There was nothing but a crowd of low lives coated in darkness. They looked like criminals, outcasts. Most of them had bald heads and a weird symbol on their necks. He assumed it was a sort of clan for outlaws, or a gang. He looked away from the subhuman filth and then at the gate.
Why did you pick a shithole like this to enter the West?
Hokkaido was confused as Key's parents enjoyed diplomatic immunity and certainly could save Key from any trouble, even in the West.
Are you ready to go through the scanner? I don't know. It seemed like a good place. I don't think anyone will notice us passing through here. We look like the creme de la creme of society. And no one should pay attention to us. Kind of the point of it all. Just to avoid the possibility of someone noticing me on the border.
Key looked at the portal to the other half of the world.
Sure.
Hokkaido was either confident or dumb. Or both. They walked through the portal to the west. There were no humans watching them, but Key could feel the machines scanning them. He could feel every single cell being penetrated, his body augmentations and DNA being read, his persona being found and checked in the system. Going through those portals as a banished criminal would mean instant death. A laser would implode the brain and heart with a powerful and precise photon ray. He felt uncanny because he knew that not only could the system be manipulated into murdering an innocent traveler, but he too could be targeted for the crimes he had committed. Hokkaido just walked through the gate with infinite ignorance. The chubby loner with the spiky hair was already searching for a place to eat. The poor neighborhood seemingly didn't affect the harmonious guard either.
Look, there's a place we can eat at.
Hokkaido yawned and pointed his finger at a shady ramen place.
That place doesn't look so good. It looks like it has been scraped together from what was available.
There was no way on planet Earth Key was going to eat in a dump like that. He was spoiled, used to the best cuisine. His poor stomach probably would not be able to handle the cheap stuff such a place served.
Come on, dude. It's not like they'll have giant cockroaches. It can't be that bad. I refuse to believe that.
The fat guard rubbed his belly. He was ready for ramen. Sure enough, there were large cockroaches in the restaurant.
Can't you just wait a little bit so we can find a better place to eat? Dude, it'll be my treat. If you let me pick the place, I will buy you anything. I promise. You can have 2 meals if you want, and the dessert to go, and I will pay for it all. How does that sound?
Key tried to bribe his friend.
That ramen sounds really good.
He looked at the black place with the neon shrimp or cockroach waving his hat at them. 4 crows sat on the roof next to the electric sign.
They don't even have a holographic sign. Okay.
They are old school, don't you see? That's their vibe. Don't you want to slurp authentic ramen, Key? You will never get another chance like this. I bet it's the best ramen in the West.
Hokkaido was delusional from hunger.
Damn, that's some really yummy ramen.
Hokkaido had coaxed Key into the restaurant.
I like the chili and greens in this. They probably grow the greens here in this building, and the noodles are homemade too, and even has an egg.
Yeah, I am impressed they have an egg in the dish for that price.
Key agreed. Eggs cost 4 yen a piece in the lands of the Yakuza.
That's some good shit.
Hokkaido loved eating more than he loved his mother.
I wonder if they print the eggs from protein powder, or if they actually have a chicken farm here.
Key slurped the hot soup. Chili grains were floating around the tiny oily bubbles.
Probably chickens on the roof, I would guess. I just didn't hear any when we walked in, I have to admit. Maybe we are eating cockroach eggs.
Hokkaido was chewing on a piece of pork.
I can't believe there's actual grease in my food. I wouldn't have ever thought that it would taste so damn good.
Key was used to a perfect diet.
And you didn't want to come in here for a meal.
The fat guard wished for a cold beer. If only it wasn't so early in the blue morning.
But here we are. Of course, I wanted to come here.
Key was finishing his bowl.
You almost called this place a dump?
Hokkaido teased Key.
It was quite an experience. So natural, and I tasted culture with every bite.
Thank you, said the robot after receiving the payment. It started cleaning up their table with one of his tentacle arms, stirring pots and cutting onions with the other. He was programmed to tell a single joke. I cry not because I am cutting onions, but because I am depressed. To every other customer who walked into the Raymond place. The young gentleman and his fat bodyguard looked weird and silly when they walked through the West. Both of them were dressed in black, and they did not have the vibe or speed for that half of the world.
What's the plan?
Hokkaido rubbed his full belly. He had not felt happiness like this just from food alone for the longest time. Perhaps not since early childhood when his mother used to cook him dumplings. Well, how he had become a little dumpling himself, but he never ever felt the inner peace from eating that he had just found in the ramen place. He told himself that he was tickling Nirvana's feet.
So we have to get to the hotel first. Check in there, and then I'll have to do a little bit of work.
They turned into a valley with a pedestrian road of mostly bars and restaurants.
My stomach is turning around. Inside out from all that chili in the ramen.
Hokkaido grunted, holding his bowels.
Do you need to go right now, or can I wait?
Key looked around for a restroom.
I need to go right now. It's urgent, or I will shit my pants.
Hokkaido walked off into one of the restaurants close by. The good Lord giveth, and the good Lord taketh away. Okay, I felt spooked on the road alone. There was a peculiar fear creeping up on him. He sensed that he was being watched. He noticed 5 or 6 men dressed in black with upside-down pyramid tattoos on their necks. He assumed they must have been from a gang. Probably camping by the scanner they had hacked into and checking for augmentations to rob from people passing by. Key's brain augmentation was clearly expensive enough to feed the gang of hyenas for at least 2 months. EBS stood there on the buttermilk-colored cobblestone pavement surrounded by Japanese architecture on both sides, watching the gang of men slowly crawl up from all sides. He reached into his pocket and kept looking around at the bandits gradually closing in on him.
Who are you?
The young Yakuza called out before the gang could get close enough to grab him. We are just a bunch of Nazi Taoists, one of them said and smiled with pride. Some of his teeth had been replaced with metal ones. Kia used the moment they were all relaxed to throw a bunch of high-toxicity microbio schemes at them. What the fuck you were doing, Kai? One of them shrieked but had already gazed up into the sky. One of them fell on the ground and covered his face with his hands. He had noticed a black monster with shiny eyes, sharp teeth, and a long tongue with saliva dripping onto the buttermilk-colored cobblestones, shading them a gingerbread brown. Make it stop. Make it stop. One of them was already twisting as if he was insane. Crab walking his panicked body across the ground. The sky was filled with thousands of dark birds circling above him, the monsters lurking on the roofs and in shadows, fear piercing his soul. Cletham just screamed with his full throat, trying to wake up from the nightmare. He walked up to the loud one and kicked him in the leg. Horrified, he pulled his pants up to notice his leg was dark red with watery blisters all over it, like it'd been crushed, bruised, and boiled, and a pain program followed the visuals. The thief's brain lied about a pain that wasn't there. He observed the circus and laughed. He knew they couldn't get out of it. He had programmed the highly toxic protein to modify the neurotransmitter absorption routes, opening a two-way path and creating a hypersensitive reality. Good old Jung had inspired Ki to come up with the particular manipulation of the brain to keep the subject immobilized in nightmares. As even if the subject could figure out and grasp the pathway alternation through his cyberbrain, he would still be trapped until the protein was absorbed and completely dissolved by the cells. The only chance one had with that particular biohack was to use their own cyberbrain to create a stable image of reality by stimulating it and masking the malfunctioning brain part. Hokkaido, his angelic nirvana meditation pooping disrupted by the violent screams on the street, rushed out to see his friend amused and 5 men with triangles tattooed on their necks rolling on the ground and losing their minds.
What have you done, Key?
Right, he put his hand on the young Yakuza's back and led him away from the whole scene. Time had stopped. People were looking at the mess in confusion and unexplainable suffering like a miracle unwinding before them. Only a wicked god could produce such a tragic sight.
I came up with this hack during poetry class. We were sitting in our empty classroom with pale tables and nothing but thick books before us. The pages were already dark from age and had a distinct smell to them, but they were not dirty. Actual, real books. Hokkaido. The teacher thought it would teach us the necessary romanticism to understand poetry, like aesthetics, historic beauty. We had to write a poem during the class inspired by what we would find in one of the books. One of the boys in the class asked mockingly if it had to be about pretentious love. And the class laughed, smirked, and fuzzed. I remember verses playfully showing the effect of poetry, making plain things beautiful and fun. There are also pictures from the year 1960 on the Soviet Union prison questioning what love can be in such a place for a human being. I wanted to ridicule the teacher's demand for a poem with a love poem between 2 Nazi guards. The image of a prisoner on his knees facing a concrete wall was burnt in my mind. What is love for a guy like that but a faint memory or a fake god? However, that image inspired me to code this little cute thing you just witnessed. Isn't that a beautiful love poem in a way?
Kiai Hokkaido for approval, who was mildly pushing him to walk faster.
A pottery class, you say?
Hokkaido was frustrated and worried. Brain augmentation hacking of any sort was a severe crime.